Hello, everybody. All right, welcome to the Mikestand. If you guys haven't already, if you can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and/or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. We're going to give it a few minutes to give people a chance to come in and get involved. Um, So hopefully everybody had a good weekend. We got, we'll have, again, we'll have some stuff, not a whole lot, because things have been slow of late. But with that, we're gonna let's give it a few minutes, give people a chance to come in. Of course, always feel free to comment and or ask questions. Um, so here, all right. So, anyways, as I said, we're just waiting for some more people to show up. At least a couple of us in here, but yeah. So basically, we kind of had a short night last night. Like I said, not a whole lot happened last week. Even Chris Braley didn't have an indie comic showcase last week. So there are news cycles are like that. Sometimes you may have a lot of news coming in, and other times you have stuff. Things slow down. But we managed. We did. Even with the limited news stuff, we also had a couple profile pieces as well as, of course, as the um, historical comic retrospect. So, anyways, that said, we're just waiting for more people to show up. Um, hope everybody had a good weekend. Um, let's see. We're coming up on 3 minutes. I guess I'll start to talk a little bit about what's on tap tonight. So we got kaiju's galore tonight, and we do have a couple articles, both kind of having some links to kaiju, the famous Japanese movie monsters. One we're gonna reflect back on a little bit of kaiju hit, and of course both articles we're gonna be going over tonight are from Bounding in the Comics, some kaiju history, including a proposed possibility of Godzilla teaming up with Jesus to devastate humanity. We'll look at that. Also, Godzilla minus one director Takashi Yamazaki might get more than he bargained for his Star Wars aspirations come. If his Star Wars aspirations come true. So we got those two kind of. Now granted, it's more about the director in that second story than an actual kaiju, but since he was a director for. Hey, Rick, how you doing, my friend? Um, as I said, if you guys haven't already, if you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. We'll try to get to the questions to the best of our ability. And also, of course, we'll have the wrestling wrap up. A lot happened over the weekend, particularly in the WWE. Some big news came out of the WWE over the weekend, particularly surrounding Vince McMahon, but also he had the Royal Rumble. Talk about that. We'll talk about TNA happenings and AEW happenings as well, along with the this day in each history. So, with all that being said, as we approach the 5 minute mark, why don't we go ahead and get started here? Um, as we get into these news articles, always feel free to comment and or ask questions. We'll try to answer, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, with all that being said, let's go ahead and get started here. All right, so we'll get into the first article here. We're going to go over. All right, kaiju history. Godzilla once teamed up with Jesus to devastate humanity in an insane unmade proposal. Article by J.B. Augustine, published back on January 26th, which I believe was last Friday. So let's and I guess kaiju history is, I guess, a segmented article that J.B. Augustine must be doing, I guess, here. But let's get into this. Previously in kaiju history, we explored Godzilla's apocryphal duel with the devil. So this month we go from the Lord of Darkness to his sworn enemy, the Lord of a sort, anyway, or in a manner of speaking. In any case, I mean in the least conventional, most bonkers way imaginable. All right, he kind of likes to dance around the situation, doesn't he? In the way he presents it. Let's see. All right, still. Let's see. To do that, we have to go back to the late 1970s again, when the culture was at its most experimental and psychedelic, artistically and socially, which is a nice way of saying everyone and everything was was in smaller quotes totally baked. The culture had an effect on the G-man, um, like no other influence before or since, by begetting the most insane pitches ever submitted by anyone who is seeking a studio's approval. Toho, eager to a fault, to push the boundaries with their giant monster, had an open door for these ideas to be heard. Many of them shared an environmentally conscious or spiritual quality that echoed trends, and concerns of the age. Um, but while they may have been timely, they often didn't get farther than a meeting or a circular file. Huh. All right. Well, that's usually the case with anything, though. That's usually the case with a lot of things, though. Not every idea is going to be accepted, right? So, anyways, as we continue on here, Toho, for those of you who don't know, is an anime studio over in Japan. So, just to let you guys know, there was one case where such a film was made. One that painted pollution as the biggest threat to the earth and mankind. Yeah, the whole environmental craze of the 70s and 80s there, and into the 90s. You um, let's see. The film was Godzilla versus Hedorah, the smog monster, which divides the fandom to this very day with its tone and messaging. hmm Again, as many of you know, the whole environmentalist climate change messaging is, again, it you know kind of part of the same hardcore liberal arguments. You know, um, well, remember there was even a cartoon about it in that Ted Turner did in the '90s on his channels called Captain Planet and Planeteers. You guys remember that one? Anyways, as we continue on here, in all likelihood, it was divisive within Toho as well, since the director, Yoshimitsu Banno, never got to make another movie with them. A sequel to Hedorah was being developed only to be cancelled, leaving the monster in limbo for decades. And that's a story for another time. There was no shortage of treatment similar to Bono's. Um, but Toho may have reached their limit with hearing them out as they got weirder and more absurd sounding. On that note, I want to introduce you to one that went further than any of them, even Bono and Godzilla versus the Devil. I wonder what that could be. Of course, we already know because we already saw the. If you saw the title of this article, you probably already know what we're about to go into now, anyways. But anyways, um, let's see. Quote quote unquote God's Godzilla is the name of a treatment. Um, name of a treatment by sci-fi and alternate history author critic Yoshio Aramaki, submitted in 1979. It was a nugget in a pile of rejected proposals seeking to take up the task of reviving the King of Monsters into a new era. That is precisely what Aramaki's treatment did. It began when aliens arrived from deep space, in parentheses here, specifically from, quote, the null space of the continent of Mu, unquote, like they often do in tokusatsu pictures, and landed in Peru. Its destination is no coincidence, as the South American nation is home to the infamous Nazca lines that ancient alien theorists believe were made so space travelers could see them from the sky and find a worthy runway um, for their ships if they ever landed. So interesting stuff thus far. All right. Let's continue here. Well, they do, and it spells disaster for humanity. With some quote unquote flashing lights, the aliens wake up a quote unquote dinosaur shaped figure that you can probably guess is Godzilla. Under their control, he rises to do their bidding as their weapon, in parentheses, or quote unquote God, as the proposal says, of mass destruction. According to Aramaki, in a translated preamble to his treatment, quote, this new Godzilla would wipe out the image of a grotesque future Godzilla, and I believe that this Godzilla must be both aesthetic and modern, unquote. He added the new Godzilla, quote, will be developed for the future, unquote, of the 21st century. Quote, and should carry forward with it a sense of postmodernism, unquote. Wow, this guy had some artsy ideas, didn't he? Postmodernism? That's an artist term. All right. Anyway, as we continue on there, let's see. That sense of postmodern carries with it a tendency toward assembling a pastiche of multiple influences. Some mention, like King Kong, are perfectly in line with Godzilla. Others, including Tarzan, Frankenstein, and French pulp anti-hero Fantomas, um, are as disparate as can be. I've never even heard of Phantom. Others I've obviously heard of, but have never heard of Phantomas. Aramaki wanted to, quote unquote, imitate characters that thrived each time they were shown for the next generation, which is a timeless mandate. However, his intro gets trippier from there as he calls upon everyone involved to recognize the discrepancy within the grotesque, i.e., between supernaturalism and surrealism, unquote. They then had to exercise their imagination and take their, quote, thoughts to warp speed, unquote. How would they do that? Quote, the staff shall be trained to be able to immediately allow four-dimensional images to come to their minds, unquote, Aramaki explains. Quote, horizontal and diagonal thought, as well as reversals in thought, are already behind the times, unquote. After all that, he gets the story and somehow still urges Toho to keep it simple. Quote, for the story, that simpler it remains. The simpler it remains, the better it will likely be, unquote, he wrote. And there you got that's I believe that's Morgan Freeman right there. Yep, Morgan Freeman playing God and Bruce Almighty. Anyways, back to his Godzilla. Let's see now. All right, so getting back to the article here. Let's see. Aramaki describes his Gojira as, quote, akin to the Hindu god Kali, unquote. Quote, this Godzilla is not an ally of justice, in other words. He is a malevolent god, a god of destruction, unquote. He says, quote, just as Kali is a dark god, this Godzilla is truly dark, unquote. There is an awkward and uncomfortable mixing of religious traditions that goes with this idea. Aramaki blends aspects of Hinduism with the ancient alien theory and doesn't stop there. After the aliens arrive in Peru and reawaken Godzilla, he brings in a Christ figure to carry out their agenda. Oh boy. Oh boy. I'm surprised that Hindus and Christians alike did not skewer this thing. You know. While the UN scrambles to do battle with the kaiju menace, the alien's humanoid emissary, who identifies himself as Jesus, descends, but he is not the Messiah in Scripture. Rather than calm storms and heal people, he causes chaos and plagues from nightmarish hallucinations. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure that there would be quote unquote hell to pay. They did present Jesus like that. There would be a lot of Christians really up in arms over that. Let's see. Holding all the cards, he also controls Godzilla, who is creating tsunamis to terrorize coastlines. But his bosses up in a spaceship take it upon themselves to go further and eradicate the Van Allen belt. This leaves the planet without protection from solar radiation. Godzilla and Space Jesus then go to Egypt of the future is depicted in the skies, it shows that life will go on. But the descendants of modern humans will be horrifically um, mutated and squirming at the Aramaki's Christ at this Aramaki's Christ booms. Behold the future, quote unquote. All is lost for humanity. Godzilla crouches like the Sphinx. The humanoid poser, Jesus, quote, golden and shiny. So I guess this could be I guess this could be the author's take on the book of Revelations, I guess. So I'm guessing it. Maybe this is this one author's take on the book of Revelations, right? Ah, let's see. Ascents back to the heavens on a stairway of light. That's how the movie was supposed to end. All right. Naturally, Toho passed on this proposal. No reason was given, but it's not hard to imagine that they thought the narrative was too chaotic, um, and that it would offend the religious sensibilities of markets they tried to show it in, such as the U.S., which is true. I'm sure a lot of Christians would, as I said, would probably be up in arms over this depiction of Jesus. They would be boycotting movie theaters left and right over this. I'm pretty sure of that. The whole thing first appeared in Japanese publication, quote, Godzilla, quote unquote, Toho Special Effects, Unpublished Material Archive, producer Tomoyuki Tanaka and his era. You can also find it on Toho Kingdom's blog, along with a few reactions. Tell us yours down below. So there's a trailer for it there. And there we go. Oh, there we go right there. Oh, there's our first article. You know what? So got us to like the 23-minute mark. All right, so let's hit up the next article we're gonna look at. First up, before I do that, of course, let me just do this real quick. Well, first up. Alrighty then. All right, so let's see. Here we go with the other article we're doing today. All right. So, anyways, let's get to the next article we're gonna do here. So, Godzilla minus one in smaller quotes, director Takashi Yamazaki might get more than he bargained for if his Star Wars aspirations come true. Article by J.B. Augustine published earlier today, January 29th. So, get ready to get into this one. All right. All right, then. Director Takashi Yamazaki is riding an unexpected wave of success with Godzilla Minus One. Expectations were high for the film, but no one predicted it would become an international hit that would receive an Oscar nomination. Whether it wins or not remains to be seen, but realistically, the nod is an achievement in and of itself, and in the scheme of things, beside the point. Again, as people here in the states keep looking for alternatives to a lot of the Western woke garbage, they look to Japan for a lot of this too. Yamazaki's future in filmmaking is wide open on both sides of the Pacific, but he knows what he wants his next move to be. The 59-year-old made it known he wants a crack at one of his favorite movie franchises of all time, Star Wars. Quote, I watched Star Wars, and that's how I ended up being a filmmaker, unquote, he said to Slash Film late last year. Quote, I'm really hoping I will get a call and they will bring me, in brackets, onto Star Wars, unquote. A month later, he screened the blockbuster Minus One for Lucasfilm. August Ragone, a Twitter X user who was in attendance, wrote via that Park Place, quote, great Godzilla Minus One screening tonight at Lucasfilm. Was introduced to director Yamazaki after the Q&A. He was also gracious enough to sign my copy of the, in brackets, Japanese theater program. The Godzillion, thanks to Ken Ibrahim and Dave Filoni, unquote. All right. As always, guys, if you haven't already, if you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and we'll try to answer the questions to the best of, I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, continuing on here, nearly every filmmaker and film buff today is one because of Star Wars, and many likewise would love to do something in that world, however small. Problem is, which anyone who's followed the series over the last decade and more could tell you, now is the worst time to be involved with Lucasfilm. Mr. H reviews over on YouTube is one onlooker, an analyst, who believes Yamazaki will get more than he bargained for. The YouTuber posed a question, quote, has Lucasfilm found its next victim to hire and fire, unquote, in a recent news vlog about the prospect for Yamazaki. While Mr. H sees Yamazaki could be a good fit for Star Wars, if he's given the money and freedom to make it good, he predicts the director will be set up for failure. Quote, timing matters, unquote, he said. Quote, there are some individuals that are pretty decent filmmakers that have gone to Lucasfilm and nothing's happened, or they were fired, or the project that they did make was garbage, unquote. He adds, quote, just because they got one person in, doesn't fill me with confidence and joy. I think this is Lucasfilm and, in brackets, Kathleen Kennedy lining up their next victim, their next Patsy, not Patty, not Patty Jenkins, but their next Patsy. There's someone they can blame stuff on, unquote. And of course, speaking of Patty Jenkins, uh, anyways. All right. Wonder Woman director Patty Jenkins was once attached to direct a Rogue Squadron movie, which was such a big deal that she starred in a teaser that showed her getting into an X-wing. However, the project stopped being a priority to the point that sources say it's no longer in active development. Yamazaki could fall into the same trap, or, as Mr. H observes, the complex human story the filmmaker wants could be watered down into something quote unquote ham fisted or worse. Um, quote, if there is any company that has earned the right not to have the benefit of your doubt, it's Lucasfilm and Disney, unquote, said Mr. H. If you agree or don't, we'd love to know what you think. Write us a response down in the comments. All right, so that's all we pretty much had for the stories, anyways. Let me just check some stuff real quick. Yeah. All right. All right. So, anyways, let's see where are we at on time here. We're 34 minutes here. Okay. So, all right. So let me see now. So, anyways, I guess we'll kind of move on to the historic, at 34 minutes here. So I guess we'll um move on to the wrestling route because there is quite a bit of news that happened over the weekend here that we're talking about, particularly in WWE, but also AEW and TNA. And we'll start with we'll actually go. Normally we go WWE, AEW, and then TNA or whatever other tertiary titles. But as it were, I think we'll go the other way. We'll start with TNA because they had, of course, had their Impact this past Thursday. And on this past episode of Impact, so they can pull that up here. On this past episode of Impact, episode 1098, as it were, the show started off with a classic singles X Division championship between one half of the TNA World Tag Team Champions, Chris Bay of ABC, and Kevin Knight. Proved to be a very, very solid, very great athletic contest, with Bay getting the win. After the match, the recently newly arrived grizzled young vets who made their TNA debut at Hard to Kill came in to make a statement by attacking ABC after focusing in on Ace Austin after dumping Chris Bay out of the ring after he had just got through his match. So to set up for a potential match at Sacrifice between the two teams. Dirty Dango and Oleg Prudius, formerly known as Oleg, formerly known as Alex Kozlov in the WWE, squashed Damian Drake and Dante King, their matchup. In her contractual rematch, Trinity came up short once again to Jordan Grace, who had become champion at Hard to Kill in the TNA Knockouts title match. As the two were shaking hands and basically trying to share a moment in the ring, Giselle Shaw, along with her Shantaraj, came in and attacked both female wrestlers. As Giselle Shaw had won the Ultimate X match at Hard to Kill to basically earn a number one title contender shot, or earn a title shot at Jordan Grace at some point in the future. She just has to cash in the X that she's holding on to at some point whenever she chooses to. So Giselle Shaw attacked both Jordan Grace and Trinity after the match. And this may have been, I think, Trinity's last match in TNA, as we will talk a little bit about that in a moment, with some other developments that also have happened recently that came up over the weekend here. Let's see now. Continuing on, of course. In his TNA in-ring singles debut, Nick Nemeth defeated one half of the Rascals, Zachary Wentz. After fending off Wentz and Wentz's partner Trey Miguel, he was attacked by Steve Macklin, only to stave him off as well. In another squash match, the tag team match, former Knockouts tag team champions MK Ultra of Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich defeated the team of Danny Luna, who recently signed with TNA, and Jody Threat. And in the main event on Impact, you saw in a six-man tag team match, you saw Motor City Machine Guns of X Division champion Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley teaming up with the New Japan's ace Kazuchika Okada to defeat the system of TNA World Champion Moose, along with Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers. So, and we do have some other news regarding some TNA and TNA stuff in a moment here. But right now, we're gonna head back over the weekend here, talk a little bit about what happened in AEW on Rampage and Rampage and Collision is, of course, some of the happenings on Rampage led to some stuff that happened on Collision. So of course, first off, we're gonna look at what happened on Rampage this past Friday. On this past Friday's Rampage, in the opening match of the night, Jon Moxley defeated Lee Moriarty of the Shane Taylor promotion, who had Shane Taylor in his run by a referee's decision, as he basically choked Lee Moriarty out, only to be attacked after the match. By Shane Taylor and Lee Moriarty to set up a match between the Blackpool Combat Club of Claudio Castagnoli and Jon Moxley and Shane Taylor Promotions the following night on Collision. We'll get to that in a moment. Konosuke Takeshita defeated Christopher Daniels, looking to set up a potential match with Chris Jericho in a couple weeks. During the promo of the match, Kyle Fletcher basically pointed out that both Hobbs and Takeshita had already had their shots at Jericho, and now he wanted to have a shot at Jericho, and ended up setting a matchup for Dynamite between Jericho and Kyle Fletcher. Of course, Jericho on his yearly rock and wrestling cruise right now. In a women's match, Anna Jay defeated Ruby Soho, in kind of continuing drama between her and Ruby Soho over Angelo Parker. Then you have in the main event of the night, you saw number one contenders freshly squeezed four-way between Commander, AAA Mega Champion El Hijo del Vikingo, Kip Sabian, and the Butcher of the Blade and the Butcher, in which Commander outlasted the other three men to earn a title shot at Orange Cassidy's International Championship on the following night on Collision. And speaking of Collision, let's get right to that. And on the Saturday's Collision from Bossier City, Louisiana, the opening match of the night saw Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli of the Blackpool Combat Club defeat the team of Shane Taylor Promotions of Lee Moriarty and Shane Taylor via referee's decision. Once again, where this time it was Shane Taylor who got choked out. Orange Cassidy made a successful title defense of the international title against Commander. Mariah May, timeless Tony Storm's number one fan, made her AEW Collision in-ring debut, defeating Lady Frost in a proving ground match for the AEW Triple Crown of AEW Continental title, New Japan Strong Openweight title, and Ring of Honor World title. Eddie Kingston fended off the challenge of Willie Mack. Willie Mack, of course, the former NWA National Heavyweight Champion. And then in a first-time ever match, Brian Danielson defeated Yuji Nagata in a one-on-one match. Of course, the thing was that as Eddie Kingston was leaving his match earlier, Brian Danielson just totally ignored him, showing him lack of respect. So Eddie decided to join Tony Schiavone and Nigel McGuinness and Matt Menard on commentary. You know, and basically again with Bryan Danielson showing just complete lack of respect for Eddie Kingston. So that thing looks to be heading, possibly heading somewhere at some point in the future. Making her return after 15 months. Last time she wrestled was on October 22nd, 2022. Serena Deeb made her in-ring return to AEW, defeating Robin Renegade in just under 3 minutes. Of course, finishing her off with the arm trap half crab she calls a Serenity Lock. Many fans might remember it as the Tequila Sunrise from Conan. And then the main event saw FTR and Daniel Garcia defeat the House of Black in an Escape the Cage 6-man tag team elimination match, where you saw, of course, AEW TBS champion Julia Hart as well as Mark Briscoe all get involved. Now, earlier in the night, of course, Daniel Garcia was attacked, and there was some talk that he might not be able to make the match. That ended up not happening as he was able to make the match. They were going to have possibly Mark Briscoe replace him. Hello there, JR. Hail Xenu and Xena. Have a good night. Well, thank you for dropping in. Hopefully you liked and shared it to where we can try to get more people in here, obviously. Let's see now. So that's all I got for AEW right now. As everything, of course, is basically moving toward, well, going back to Serena Deeb's match for a moment, she essentially, as she calls herself the professor, essentially called out the women's locker room, saying she's coming for a title. She let it be known to, I believe, both, particularly Toni Storm, that she's coming for her. So, Deonna Purrazzo recently making her debut, and now Serena Deeb making her return. The women's division is really going to start to pick up again here. And of course, Serena Deeb being gone for the last 15 months, I guess, from some kind of serious injury. I didn't even know about it, but that's all we got for the AEW side of things. Let's see. So now, of course, let's get to the WWE. The WWE news. As we said, of course, the Royal Rumble happened this past weekend on Saturday. Go over that real quick. And then we'll also talk about some other news that came out over the weekend. I'll get down to that. All right, so from this past Saturday's Royal Rumble, the show opened up with the Women's Royal Rumble, in which Bayley won it, potentially setting up a possible, since she has a guaranteed title match. It's set up for a possible match with her fellow Damage Control teammate Io Sky. Also, some interesting entrance into the Women's Royal Rumble too. Alba Fire made her debut in the Rumble. Let's see. Jade Cargill made her WWF in-ring debut in the Royal Rumble. Jordan, and a real special surprise, and leading to the belief that there may be some kind of working agreement now working between TNA and WWE. Jordan Grace was entered in the Rumble. She came in around the same time as Naomi. Naomi making her return to the WWE after a successful stint in TNA over the last year. Of course, Michael Cole was making references to their time in TNA together, making reference to Naomi as Trinity's time in TNA as well. Jordan Grace being shown as TNA Knockouts champion. Liv Morgan made her return there. That's pretty much. Tiffany Stratton made her main roster debut there. Let's see. Roman Reigns retained the Universal WWE title match in a four-way match, getting the pin on AJ Styles. Logan Paul would actually retain the United States champion on Kevin Owens via DQ, as Paul and his people tried to put one over on Kevin Owens, only for Owens to grab the brass knucks, use them, but after eventually the ref discovered that, because from the looks of it, looks like he forgot to take the knucks off, and the ref caught him and DQ'd him, reversing the initial decision. And then Cody Rhodes won the Royal Rumble, outlasting many guys, including the returning Andrade. Braun Breaker, who initially was not going to be in the Royal Rumble. There were some people saying that Braun Breaker was actually making his, of course, main roster debut again here, partially due to the fact that initially Brock Lesnar was supposed to be in the spot that Braun Breaker took, but due to what we'll talk about in a moment, Brock was, of course, taken out of the Rumble. Let's see. But Braun Breaker lasted for a while. Among some of the things, including eliminating Almost. He was eliminated by Dominic Mysterio, who was also in the match. You also had CM Punk. So the match came down, of course, to CM Punk and Cody Rhodes. It was Cody Rhodes who eliminated CM Punk at the very end. Now, what also came out of this, initially they were looking for possibility for WrestleMania. For one of the things they're talking about is CM Punk challenging Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes challenging Roman Reigns to quote unquote finish his story. However, it looks like CM Punk, in the third time in the last couple of years here, suffered another injury, suffered a torn bicep. It looks like it will probably keep him out for at least 6 months, which will mean he will not be able to wrestle in WrestleMania. So they're going to be scrambling for what to do now, because a lot of their initial plans seem to be a bit screwy. So, but we'll just have to wait and see on that. Now, some of the other big news that came out of the WWE over the weekend, of course, aside from the Royal Rumble here, was Vince McMahon. So it's been revealed that former WWE employee Janelle Grant has filed a lawsuit against Vince McMahon and the WWE, in which she accuses Vince McMahon in particular of raping her and committing sex trafficking. In other words, using his rape by coercion, basically. In other words, with promises of advancement in company, she claims he took advantage of her. This initially led to in the lawsuit as well, named in the lawsuit as well, of course, John Laurinaitis. There's also talk of him trafficking her off to a former UFC champion who they were trying to get back to the WWE. This, of course, was Brock. Is believed to be Brock Lesnar. Hence why. Hence why he. Hence why he was pulled from the Royal Rumble. Now, as it also turns out, Slim Jim was the first advertiser to kind of suspend their deal with the WWE over the allegations. And because of this, people thought that McMahon might get pressure to might be pressured to resign. And because of that, of course, he did eventually resign, even though he vigorously denied all the allegations. But once McMahon resigned, Slim Jim decided to continue their deal with the WWE. So, and coming out of all this too, coming out of all this as well, there's some talk that Stephanie might be coming back. Stephanie McMahon in a executive role. There's talk. A lot of people would like her to come back. A lot, including Nick Khan, the current CEO of WWE. But nobody's sure if she would actually want to come back. She came back. She kind of got elevated when McMahon retired the first time, and then but then once he came back, she kind of stepped aside again. Now, there's also talk that aside from McMahon, and Laurinaitis, of course, is already gone, but aside from McMahon, there's talk that there's a possibility TKO Holdings may be looking to clean house, as it were. In other words, anybody who, we did see this about a few weeks ago with Kevin Dunn leaving, his contract coming up and leaving the company. A lot of the people who were associated with McMahon may be on the way out, if they're not already out. So that story is, of course, going to still be pending. On tonight's Raw, in the aftermath, of course, CM Punk is scheduled to be in Raw tonight for in Tampa for Raw. Let's see. He'll probably be addressing his injury. Aside from that, let's see. The Judgment Day of Finn Balor and Damian Priest will be defending the Raw and Smack, the Unified Tag Team titles against DIY of Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. Former women's tag team champions Chelsea Green and Piper Niven take on Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark in what looks to be WWE trying to push the women's tag team division. Jey Uso takes on Bronson Reed. Gunther defends the Intercontinental title against Kofi Kingston, and then Sami Zayn will be taking Sami Zayn, who made his return last night in the Royal Rumble, will be taking on Drew McIntyre. So that's all that's going down there. So with that now, today is Monday, January 29th, 2024. Why don't we take a look back this day in each history? History! So, alrighty then. So first off, I'm going to head back 90 years ago today. On this date, 90 years ago today, Columbia distributed Charles Mintz Productions' Scrappy's Television on this date 90 years ago today, back in 1934. Scrappy shows off his new television set to Oopie and their cat. After a musical number, they're treated to a prize fight from Madison Square Gardens. So on this date, 90 years ago today, Charles Mintz Productions' Scrappy Television premiered in theaters through Columbia Pictures on this date 90 years ago today. Well, getting ready to move on to the next piece of niche history there. Let's play this one more time here. All right. So, with that, as we continue on, of course, moving on to, so now we're going to head to 1994, as I would like to actually wish a happy 30th birthday to Japanese voice actress Ayane Sakura. She, of course, provides the, she's affiliated with Aoni Productions. Um, she provides, of course, the English voices for such characters as Sekre Swallowtail in Black Clover, Ochako Uraraka, or Yoriti in My Hero Academia. Those are probably our two most well-known roles. She is now Tomoe and Charlotte, among other things. Let's see. She won the Best Supporting Actress award at the 12th Seiryu Awards. So happy 30th birthday to Ayane Sakura. So, anyways, getting ready to move on to next piece of niche history. We head up to 2014. On this day in 2014, the 30th issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from IDW went on sale on this date back in 2014. 10 years ago today, the 30th issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles IDW went on sale on this date, sold for $3.99, was 28 and sold for $3.99 and was 28 pages. So 30th issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from IDW went on sale on this date 10 years ago today. And finally, 5 years ago today, on this date, 5 years ago today, a night after 2019's Royal Rumble, or actually not the night after, but 2 nights after, SmackDown Live occurred from the Talking Stick Resort Arena in Phoenix, Arizona. This was the SmackDown following, of course, Royal Rumble, as we've said. The main event saw for the WWE SmackDown Tag Team titles, the Usos defeat. Let's see. I'm sorry. It was a 4-way elimination match for the number one contendership, the WWE Tag Team titles. That was how the match was. The Usos outlasted Jay and Jimmy Uso outlasted the Bar of Sheamus and Cesaro, the New Day of Big E and Kofi Kingston, and Heavy Machinery of Tucker Knight and Otis Dezovich. The Rey Mysterio versus Samoa Joe match never got started as Andrade attacked Mysterio before the match could even begin. R-Truth made 2 successful defenses of the United States tag team titles, and defeating. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. R-Truth defeated Shinsuke Nakamura for the United States championship, and then had a successful title defense right after against Rusev. So there we go with that. So I hope everybody enjoyed the show tonight. Hope everybody got some good stuff out of the news broadcast here. Of course, we'll be back here tomorrow night with more niche news. Also, this Friday, Apex from Apex Comics will be joining me. We'll be looking back to at comics history, as we will be looking at comics that went on sale in January 1940 from Lev Gleason this week, focusing in on Silver Streak Volume 1, Issue 3. I hope you guys will join us then. I hope you guys will be back here tomorrow night to join us for more niche news. So with that, I shall bid you all adieu. Bye!